Hey guys, All in Crypto here, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. Today we're going to be continuing on our Polkadot crusade in regards to educating the masses about this wonderful, exciting, and quite frankly, amazing and innovative blockchain. And we've got some huge news to share with you. You know, there's no other way for me to describe this. As it's Friday, I wanted this to be a very joyful video going into the weekend. And this news is absolutely massive. Not the last video that we did on Polkadot, we looked at XCM. We looked at the various versions of XCM, what it is and why it's such a revolutionary feature, and why it kind of changes the whole narrative of blockchain and actually, you know, gives a clear vision of Web3, this sort of interconnectable, interoperable blockchain universe. The video prior to that, we actually looked at the fact that Polkadot may have the green light as a non-security. And we got some pretty insane news. This is from the Web3 Foundation, which is Polkadot's foundation. This came out yesterday, and it reads, Polkadot's native token DOT has morphed from a security into a non-security. Polkadot is and always has been coordinating software, Web3 Foundation's CLO, and it goes on to list these people, explain the story so far in this podcast. And we're going to be playing a clip of this podcast. This was tweeted. This is when I first heard about this from Dan Rieser, who is, I know he's part of Acala, but he's the chief growth officer of Acala. Acala is a project that's building on top of Polkadot. They are a DeFi specific platform. They're going to be the main stable coin, in my opinion. We're yet to cover all this on this channel, guys. So please do hit that subscribe button and stay up to date with everything that we're releasing in regards to DOT and its ecosystem. But I follow Dan, and of course I saw that he tweeted this, and this is a interview, a podcast. I'm just going to play a clip of it because I want you guys to actually go and watch the original video and get the full picture of essentially the US head of blockchain and digital assets explaining how Polkadot has now morphed from a security to a non-security and actually it is being recognized as software. If you understand what this means, look at XRP, for example, in that lawsuit. It's kind of like XRP winning a lawsuit. You know, regulations in many regards are going to pick winners and losers. And the fact that Polkadot, and the reason I started on this screen here from Digital Asset News was we looked at this 2 videos ago for Polkadot, so not the last one, the prior, and we actually read this tweet out and said, I wonder what it could be, and was speculating on the idea before we had all of this sort of confirmation that it may be DOT. I just heard, and I'll read it again, guys, I just heard of a top 20 crypto project that is going to receive a letter of non-action from the SEC in 2023. This basically means this project will be labeled as a non-security. What do you think will happen to the price of this asset? Hint, it's not Bitcoin. Of course, it's not Bitcoin. Bitcoin has already actually been labeled as a non-security because Bitcoin is founderless in terms of we don't know who it was. It's very hard for them to sort of penalize anybody. But it makes sense that DOT is a non-security and is more software because they facilitate people to go ahead and build blockchains. So if you understand DOT and its framework, and this is why we're on this kind of DOT crusade, because we think this layer 0 concept that both DOT and Cosmos are bringing to the world is genius. It's nothing short of genius, in fact. And there's many genius components that they both have. I'd like to bring those two communities together. I know they're very much stacked against one another and they're constantly bickering. But look, guys, there's going to be multiple winners. There's no reason why both Polkadot and Cosmos can't win. I have a favorite. I'm not going to share that in this video. However, I think some of you may be able to tell which one it is. You know, I am a big fan of both of them. But let's explore a little bit about what's actually being said here. So the Web3 Foundation tweeted this yesterday. So I'm reporting on it today on Friday, leaving you with a nice little bit of news going into the weekend. And then this was tweeted from Dan. Now this is, and we're going to express who this is. So who is actually saying this? And it's Joshua Ashley Clayman Kuzar, That's quite a long name. Now, who is this individual who is kind of coming out and giving clarity on the fact that she believes or she's in a position where she knows that Polkadot is not a security? So a little bit about her. She's recognized by the Chamber and Partner as a top 3 US blockchain and cryptocurrency lawyer, global top 12. She's the US head of fintech and head of blockchain and digital assets and senior counsel, blockchain, cryptocurrency, finance, and cooperation, corporate lawyer, law pro with over 50 years of experience, focused on ICO digital token offerings, deep expertise in the blockchain space. So this individual has a mass amount of credentials. She's got a hell of a lot of following. This is her Twitter. I've now given her a follow and would love to reach out to her. So please also do so as well if you're interested in this. So a little bit of a shout out to this individual. And let's go ahead and play the clip, guys. I'm going to play bits of it because I don't want to play the whole thing. So I'm certainly not going to play the whole podcast. You can actually go and find the podcast, the full podcast, in the description, guys. And go ahead and watch that for yourself. And then we'll kind of round things up. Talk a little bit about the price, perhaps. We've still not done a price analysis video on Polkadot. That will come, but we really, bear markets for learning. This is still a bear market, even though we're a lot less bullish today than we have been throughout the whole of 2022, or bearish, sorry, than we have been throughout last year. Our best trade was getting out of the markets last year. We're not bulls yet. But we're a lot less bearish than we previously have been. So decipher that how you will. Of course, I've got a Patreon community that will be getting the lowdown on and getting the deciphered message. And of course, publicly, we've got lots of things coming this year. So, guys, what I want to do is get rid of my beautiful face. Sorry to disappoint anybody and kind of leave you like that. Let's play this clip. And then let's talk about it. I will interject as we go through it. And then you guys are welcome to go and follow these individuals and also go and watch this full video. I like Dan. I have tried to reach out to Akala. I understand that they're very busy. I would love to have them on the show as they're a project that I'm interested in. I took part in basically every parachain that there was on Polkadot. Certainly the first rounds anyway. So let's get into it. Let me stop rambling on.
Can you guys chat a little bit around the morphing argument, right? That Polkadot, it was perhaps a security at some point potentially, but it has certainly now at this point morphed into software, right? And do you expect regulators to kind of respond to this argument, and how have they publicly, responded to arguments like this to date?
Sure. And before I start on this and before we start, I think it's just important to mention this is not meant to be adversarial at all to other projects. Right, there are certainly so many different paths that can be taken forward for our industry. Some people are focusing on potential new laws, right? Others, are engaging with active litigation, right, and making arguments there before a court. Right, this is just an alternative approach. We saw what was out there, and we decided to take the SEC up on its offer to come in and talk to FinHub. So I think that's just important as we go through this analysis. It's not meant to be exclusionary or saying this is the only way forward.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. Very quickly, just to interject there, she is absolutely not bashing any other blockchains here. She's just saying it as she knows it. And just to point out, you've got the founder of Signu Growth Capital, you've got the chief legal officer for the Web3 Foundation, and you've got the CEO of Playground Labs, who is Sam Purify, whose podcast this is actually taken from, and it's talking about Polkadot and it kind of morphing from a security, which potentially it was looked at. And this brings into question everything. There's far more going on here because you have to ask yourself, okay, well, again, regulations are going to pick winners and losers. Central banks are going to pick winners and losers. And I think Polkadot's going to be a winner. And that's why we're talking about it so aggressively. We've spoke about it throughout the whole of last year. This year, no messing around, guys. We're going for the jugular. I want you guys to win. And hopefully I'm a factor in that.
Agreed. And given that the regulatory space has always been, a messy space to operate in, that's why we obviously all need good counsel. I think it makes sense, right? There are going to be many paths to success here. And this, may end up being one of those, right?
Yes, yes, definitely. So, okay. So thinking back to frankly, 2017, I'll just mention very briefly the Dow report when it came out, right? It was the SEC's first real line in the sand. And I won't go into everything that was said, obviously, but it was clear from the DAO report that the SEC was saying that the DAO token itself was a security, right? And it talked about the downstream effects, et cetera, and said no matter where you launch from, if you're selling to U.S. persons for fundraising, sales of a digital asset, U.S. federal securities laws are going to matter. So just
So what she's saying there is if you launch a DAO, even though it's a decentralized autonomous organization, it's still classed as a security if you're selling, you're ICOing. This is why no one ICOs anymore. And they've come up with these, on Cardano, we have ISPOs, initial stake pool offerings. On Polkadot, we have crowd loans. We've had to evolve from ICOs because ICOs were, you cannot sell to the US a blockchain project and try and raise funds as a result of that, or it's a security. This is how Ripple have found themselves in hot water. I used to be a big XRP holder. This is the thing that really annoys me about the XRP following. I guarantee the vast majority of the XRP following, I've been involved with Ripple for a lot longer. I'm no longer involved with it because I actually think that my time is better spent elsewhere. And from an investment point of view, for somebody that invested throughout 2018, 2019, caught all the bottoms, I can show receipts for all of this. That bull market that we've just gone through really showed me, why am I partaking in this? In this kind of $523 XRP price, I'm just like, people believe this? Anyway.
Bear that in mind, right? And since then, we've seen a lot of enforcement actions. We've also seen from the Telegram case that basically the argument that people had tried to make that something could change form through a SAFT, right? So you would sell something pursuant to an available exemption from registration, right? This piece of paper, the SAFT, and what you would deliver, even though what you sold was a security, that you would somehow in the interim build out your token, build out your blockchain and your ecosystem, and then you deliver something and it wouldn't be a security. We've seen from the Telegram case that actually doesn't work. Right, the SAFT can work for a purpose, but not for that purpose. Mm-hmm. And what the Telegram court said, among other things, essentially was that you look at what happened at the time of the initial offer and sale, and the delivery of that token is not a distinct transaction from that initial offer and sale. So if you sold something, pursuant to an exemption from registration because you knew you were fundraising, for example, you need to deliver it pursuant to that same exemption from registration to the same person, and you need to comply with the requirements for that. So making sure that people are not purchasing for resale, for immediate resale, for example. They're purchasing with a view to consume, things like that. Just many, many factors that I won't go into. But we think of it as, you throw the ball up pursuant to an exemption, you catch the ball pursuant to an exemption. And so Telegram having just, the SEC having just filed suit against Telegram at the time when we began to speak with FinHub, this was really on our minds, and it was on, we believe, the regulators' minds as well. Yeah. So part of what we did was say, okay, we're buying into this, right? We're before the regulators, we're buying into this. What can we do to get out of this? And the SEC has very helpfully, I will say, provided a way out. People might not necessarily like this way out, but there is a way out of being a security, even if you initially sold something as a.
That is key. Okay. I know of a number of blockchains, and I don't want to mention any here for a number of reasons, that are doing this actively. They are actively. They ICO'd like everything did in 2017. This was the ICO bubble. They're actively now scrambling and going, okay, right, we need to make sure that we're sufficiently decentralized, we're sufficiently this, we're sufficiently that, and we can kind of pass off as now a software more so than a security. And actually, there's a whole other thing for me to get into, but I won't do it in this video. Is actually how bad would it be if things were labeled as securities? For somebody, I run stake pools for Cardano. I run validators for other blockchains, and actually, it would mean that we would get penalized, and we would have to essentially become money operators. So it wouldn't work for us, essentially. So there are casualties there, but how bad would it really be? And it would kind of legitimize the industry. But this is fascinating. What's being said here.
The security, and that is through its April 2019 framework that it released, which is available online. And that is the investment company analysis for digital assets. And so within that framework, it gets a lot of flack. People say, "Oh, almost everything is a security under this." And if I were the SEC, I'd say, "Yeah, that's what we're saying. That's exactly the point." But there also are 9 factors where it says, something initially sold as a security may be reassessed at a later point and may no longer be a security. So part of our process was to show, look, we're applying our facts against this framework. And look, we, in our view, have satisfied these. And part of this involved, and I think Angie may be better placed to discuss some of it, but putting in place processes, that tech gurus are going to talk about the tech, not market the token, that there's going to be, a limitation in the hold by the foundation and its affiliates of tokens. Because as Daniel said, one of the functions is governance, right? And so there are multiple factors.
Like I said, I've seen many projects firsthand, knowing behind the scenes what's going on, sufficiently do this. Make sure they're not the main token holder. And they've done it in weird and wonderful ways, of course. There's always going to be ways to do this. But this is one way. One thing that the SEC are going to look at is, are you the majority stakeholder?
Factors about that. I will just say before, I guess I hand over to Angie and Daniel about this point. In terms of reaction from the regulators, well, there hasn't been, that we've seen, a public reaction. There certainly have been speeches that maybe others may want to talk about. But what we can say is during the process, not one time did anyone ever say that this didn't work or that our analysis was wrong. And given that we hope to have long futures in the industry and in legal and in broker-dealer world and the like, and that, we are licensed, these are not claims that we would make if we had any doubts in our minds.
Absolutely.
Amazing. And again, very credible individual. Joshua, I hope I'm saying that right. Check out her LinkedIn. Absolutely amazing what she's saying. Very credible individual. And the fact that DOT is not really doing a lot, it's just a symptom of the overall market and the lack of kind of volatility that's associated with it. Dollar got killed off today, but we'll cover all that in our daily cryptocurrency market updates. On that note, guys, I'm going to love and leave you. That's a huge win and a green light for Polkadot. Certainly if you've got the likes of the Web3 Foundation coming out and claiming that it's now actually a non-security. Huge, huge, huge. Remember, guys, moving forwards, whether you follow this channel or you don't, regulators are going to have a large part in picking who wins and who doesn't. That's why the blockchains that you want to, in my opinion, this is not financial advice, invest in are the ones that have got this in mind and that aren't being pariahs and trying to fight this. Because what you've got to understand is that wars that have killed hundreds of thousands of people have been waged for far less. All I've got for you in this video, guys. Hopefully you've enjoyed the content. Please go and check out this individual's the full video and the podcast in the description below. All credit to him. This is not my interview. I haven't interviewed these guys. This is from
can you guys chat a little?
Don't know why that's played again. This is there's a link in the description anyway, guys. Go and check it out. All I got for you in this video. If you enjoyed the content, like us, appreciate it. So the comment, and I'll see you all in the next one.